All right, guys. So, for those of you that missed this activity, please know that I do not own this activity. I am not the creator of it. I'm just recreating it for our class. So, today you guys are going to be making a hot air balloon with some abstract patterns and a lot of color. So, let's go ahead and get started. All you're going to need for this lesson are your crayons, your black marker, a pencil, and an eraser. And I do have all that ready on the side off screen, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, how I instructed your classmates to do this on Friday is I always turn my paper to fit my needs instead of me fitting myself to fit the paper because I'm a right-handed artist and I need my left hand for other things like holding the paper down and tracing. So in this case, I actually instructed your classmates to use their hand as the outline for the balloon. So yeah, having your paper vertically, so top to bottom, it's longer instead of horizontal, like a hamburger. We want it hot dog style, as we said in kindergarten. I want you to use your hand to be this general outline for your balloon. So depending on how wide you want it, you'll spread your fingers out. But I don't want it too wide. I'm going to keep it about this size, and I'm going to get it to almost the edge of the white paper. Now, I don't want you tracing your fingers. I want you to use your hand as the general outline for a balloon. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Some of our classmates said theirs looks like a pumpkin or a really weird oval. And mine, I did it really lightly so I can go back in and fix it. So you can see my line is imperfect. So I'm going to go in now and just start fixing. And instead of making it longer, I think I'm going to round it off right here. And this is why we always start in pencil first, because if we make mistakes, it's easier to erase. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the lines that I don't need. And I recommend you draw lightly. Don't press too hard on your pencil. The harder you press on your pencil with the lead or the graphite, the harder it is to erase. And I would use either a paintbrush or a napkin to get rid of the eraser bits because your hand actually has oil on it and it'll smear the graphite, which is what you would do for shading. So I'm okay with this circle. I'm okay with it not being perfect like my other one. So there's my balloon portion. And now we have to break up our balloon into segments so that we know what we can do designs in. So I first want you to split your balloon in half very lightly. And then once you've split it in half, you're then going to split your halves into thirds. And to do that, you're going to need two lines. So I'm going to start on the left-hand side, and I'm going to just get a line from the top. I'm going to curve it a little bit to the bottom. So there's my first line, and now I'm going to do my second. I'm going to get it down. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, except I'm going to curve it the opposite way. They don't have to be even portions. That's what makes art beautiful, imperfect. And there are our sixths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, before you can get into the basket, we're going to split our sixths now into fourths, which will really be into 24ths. So we're going to split them now into parts going horizontal. And we're going to start on the left, moving to the right, and we're going to do a zigzag to each line. And every time you do this, you're breaking up a sixth into fourths, which will then give you 24 little segments. And I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to make this section a little bit bigger. If you want to make it a little bit taller, you can. Be creative with it. And then one more line will then give me two more halves or a fourth. See, there's still math even in art. So now you can see that we have six parts going vertically, and then 4 parts going horizontally, and then we have 24 pieces total because in this case we have 4 times 6, 24 little pieces. All right, our balloon is now segmented, and now we're going to go ahead and get into the basket. So how I instructed our classmates on Friday to do the basket is you're going to bring down the center line from here down a little bit. And then with this line over here, you're going to make what I call a partial triangle. I know it looks a little wonky right now, but bear with me. So it's going to look like this. And then from here, I'm going to curve my paper. I'm going to make a straight line going across. And then for the parts that don't read, I'm just going to extend the line down. And now I'm going to make what I call a thin rectangle. Just going to bring the edges down and then I'm going to bring them across, and that is the top of my basket. And then from here, all I do is make a smaller rectangle, and that would be the partial of my basket. Now, for those of you that actually know about hot air balloons, they are weighted with sandbags to help keep the weight proportioned, and I just call these teardrops basically because they're just attached. And now we're going to add a pattern to our basket just to give it some texture so it doesn't look too plain. So I'm going to move my paper up a smidge. So how I instructed our classmates to do it is you're going to do 3 lines going down, and then directly under that 3 lines going horizontal. And you're going to continue that pattern until you are all the way across. And I'm going to do it quickly. I think I can get about 5 rows. It looks like I will be able to. And I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of pattern lines. All right. And that's it for the basket. Now we're moving on into the hot air balloon. So each section has a different pattern, abstract pattern. And I was actually a bit creative with 2 of the sections where I actually put words, but it's up to you. So how I described your students is this first top up here is going to have a pattern of just simple symmetrical lines. And I did mine zigzag. Obviously, you can see that each section is going to be different because the sizes are different. And then I just matched the lines going the pattern of, or going the direction of the pattern all the way across. And each section is different, like I said. So the top one is just horizontal lines. Over here, I split this into opposite. So these 2 sections have vertical lines, so I just split them in half. This section here, I just gave him some dots or circles, and you can do however many you like. But remember, the more stuff you put, the more inking it is. And then these 2 are horizontal lines to match this one, but I made them thicker. So I'm actually only going to do 1 to separate it, and it can be really pronounced. So now I'm done with the second portion of my horizontal part. Now my third one is a free draw. You get to do whatever you want in these patterns, but I'm a symmetrical person. I like everything to be even. So what I did here, I did hearts here. I'm going to just do 2, a smaller one and then a larger one. And then I am a swirl person, so then I did swirls, and I don't recommend you do these unless you really want to try to get better at them. But like I said, I've been doing these for a very long time. And then I'm going to just put another circle to fill in that negative space. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, just do the opposite end. And these do take practice, so if you don't want to do them, you don't have to. Remember, this is a free draw section. You do what you want. And then the last one, you guys do whatever you want. I wrote words in there. I'm going to do, I'm going to just do a checkerboard just to be different from my first attempt. So I did 2 lines going vertical and then 3 lines going across, which will give me 12 boxes, or excuse me, 16 boxes. My math was wrong there. And then the last section, I did circles. So how I did this was I did a circle in each box or each segment. And from there, I just did circles around it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And obviously, you're not going to be able to connect all the circles depending on the size. And each circle would just be a different shade of, let's say, blue or red. And I'll show you that here in a second. So I'm not going to color every section in this video. I'm just going to do a part of each section because you already saw my finished version. But be creative, please. You'll see that each section has different lines, which is totally fine. And I'm a little bit quicker because I've done this already. So, and that's it. So now we're done with our pencil. Now you're going to need your black marker. Now, I recommend you go super slow inking because when you ink with a Sharpie or a black pen, or in this case, our marker, once it's on the paper, it's permanent. So I always use another paper to put my hand on so I don't smear the pencil. And you're just going to ink this. And you're inking everything in pencil with a marker. So I normally don't just go in like this, but just for time's sake, I'm going to then go section by section, piece by piece, line by line. Take your time, and you don't want to have too thick of a line because then it's going to be very pronounced. So in this case, you can see that I missed a segment of the pencil. Let me go ahead and zoom in there really quickly. So you can see I didn't ink it directly on the line. That is perfectly okay. Give it a minute or two to dry, and once it's dried, you actually can just use your eraser to erase over the marker, and it'll be like it never happened. So it's really nifty. This is what I love about black markers inking. I love to ink. It's relaxing, at least for me. And it just cleans up your art project really neatly. I do like Sharpies. However, Sharpies are permanent and they are not allowed in our classrooms unless we are being supervised. So hopefully by the time we get to use Sharpies, we're actually back in class. So I'm still moving my paper so I can have my hand um, covered so I don't smear the pencil. And then your hand will get dirty too. But I love smearing pencil when I'm shading, but that's a skill for another time. So just take your time, take pride in your work. I am going slower than normal, and it's probably just because if I rush, I know I'm going to make a boo-boo, and you can't fix a boo-boo like this unless you use whiteout, but then you can definitely see the difference. But I do recommend for you guys, if this is your first time inking, start on the outside and then work your way in. But I do recommend you use a paper to keep your hand protected so you don't smear the paper. And you can see the paper is actually smearing right here. And it's because there's wax on the other side. So get a clean sheet of paper. But I didn't pull a clean sheet of paper, so I'm just going to try to be quick about this. But yeah, and you can see that my marker is starting to separate. The ink's not as dark. It's because I've used this marker a lot. The ears are brand new, or they should be brand new, and it should be nice, crisp, clean, dark line. So I'm getting about halfway there. And you're only using the marker to ink. You're not coloring in with the marker. And the reason for that is while markers are vibrant and the color is darker, unless you color it correctly with the flat side of the marker, the ink's going to be uneven and you're going to be able to see the strokes of the marker. So we're going to use crayon, and it's just as vibrant, a little bit more work on your wrist because you got to, move a little bit more, but it lets you see the marker and the contrast of the colors. So we're going to do crayons. Crayons are underrated tools, but they are super simple to use and they're so much fun. So I am getting there. And I hope you are having at least fun and you're at least relaxed and not thinking of anything else other than how to ink your lines carefully, because this does require some focus. And you can see I went a little too thick there, but that's okay. And I didn't get that swirl like I wanted, but like I said, let it dry, and then you will be able to go back and erase it. So we're getting really close to the end. I'm digging it so far. And if you're not in my class and you're watching this video, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I'm still getting the hang of making these videos, but it's just drawing and recording it, so there's not much to it. So you can see I move the paper with my hand. I don't move my hand to the paper, because then you'd be seeing my arm like this, and that's just not a thing that I do. We're getting there. All right, and now we're moving to the basket, and then I will go in and erase. So I'm probably going to need a new marker after this, which is totally fine. It means I used it correctly. And the good news about markers, especially Crayola, they are usually very affordable. And even if you don't get Crayola, markers are good. You get different shades. As long as you take care of them and you don't press them down hard, they will last a cool minute. These are the same markers I've had from, I think, my middle of my second year of teaching. So if you take care of them, they'll take care of you. And then just my last patterns, going quick. It's okay if they're not perfect. Boom, 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 almost there. Ooh, got a little messed up there, but that's okay. Imperfection makes art better. And there it is. I am finished inking. So I'm going to zoom out a smidge. Now, the portions of the balloon where I didn't ink it correctly and you see the pencil, I'm now going to use my gummy eraser, but I'm still going to keep my hand on this paper so I don't smear anything. And if you go really lightly, you can see that the eraser will take it off the paper. Just make sure you're erasing lightly, not too hard. This isn't a permanent marker, so it can smear if it's still wet. But if you go really carefully on top of it, you'll get rid of the pencil. Which you're going to want to do because pencil, it has an element in it that makes it shiny, so you can see it even through the marker. But look at that. It's nice and clean. Just going over everything. You see it's smeared a smidge there, but that's okay. Like I said, we're going to be using color to cover a lot of these imperfections up. Just anywhere there's pencil that's visible on the white portion of the paper, just go ahead and erase it. I hope this is dry enough because I'm going to take these off. Oh, it's not too dry, but that's okay. I'm going to be using brown to cover this up. Okay. I'm happy with this, using my tissue to just get rid of all this. All right, and now you guys are ready to color. So you can be as creative as you want with the coloring. I'm going to just use, I use my kindergarten crayons because they last longer and they're, I don't know why, just like bigger pencils, like kinder pencils. But anyway, for the coloring portions, be creative with it. But like I said, I'm a pattern person. I like to be symmetrical. So what I do to this side, I'm going to do to that side. I meant to grab my green crayon. So if I do green on the outside of the left portion, I'm going to want to do it on the other side, but to the right, which is the outside portion of that. And since I did a green, I'm actually going to want to do the light green to complement it. So you don't have to color like me. I want you to be as creative as you can. Have fun with it. And then I'm just going to color a portion of each section so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'll refer back to my original drawing. So I'm going to color these orange because, you know, I want to use funkier colors. So I have two that are colored this light orange, and then I'm going to color them the darker orange just to, you know, follow that pattern. And you can see that it complements it and it's different. They're still in the same family of colors, but just make sure, guys, that you're careful because this line actually is part of this section. So you got to be really careful with that. And I'm going to color this section something else. So I'm actually going to keep it like this, but do it opposite now. So since I have the green on the outside, I'm going to start them on the outside as well. And then the inside is going to be that light green color. So I would just extend it here as well. So, but like I said, you don't have to copy me. I'm not going to finish coloring this with you guys on camera. I'm going to leave you at it. But like what I do with one section, I want to do with the other. This section is my favorite. I always color my swirls red for some reason. It's something I've done since I was a kid. But you do you. And then if I do a warm color, which is red, I then want to do a cool color in the back. And I'm going to be a little crazy and do black, which is what I did as a child as well. I'm going to have to color super carefully because when your crowns are rounded and they don't have that point, it does make it a little bit more challenging to color. But if you color around the edge of the crown, you actually sharpen it while you color. So here's one almost done. Just color on the line with the black and it shouldn't mingle. And if it does, it does. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then, like I said, what I do to this side, I'm going to do to the other side. But I need to color my dots in that same red. You can see the total difference. I love it. Okay, and then I'm going to color one of these sections since they're all the same. I'm going to do pink. Why not? Let's do pink on this one. So then I'm going to skip the next circle. That's going to be a darker color and then do a light pink for this. And then that means the other ones are opposite. I'm going to go in with my magenta, which is a darker variation of pink. Has more red in it. Ooh, and this one has a little bit more, so it has this one and then pink on the end. So like I said, you do whatever you want. You can do completely different colors for every section, but I like to be a little bit organized. And then the last thing I'm going to color is the basket. You can color your basket whatever you want, but they're typically brown. So I'm going to do a lighter version of the brown for this basket right here. And then I'm going to still use the same crayon, but go holding it harder or pressing it harder for the top so it's a darker brown. So it looks like two different shades, but it really isn't. It's the same crown. It's just the harder you press, the smoother the wax is and the darker the color. And then for my baskets, I'm just going to be a goofball, and I'm going to color those in. Let's do them yellow. Let's do something different. There we go. So now the basket really stands out. So I've now showed you how to color the different segments. You can either do them as a pattern, or you could do them completely crazy in a bunch of color. Now for the background, you have a beautiful balloon and it stands out against the white background, which is a great contrast. But if you want to add some creativity to it, you can draw a sky in the background. You could draw more hot air balloons around the sides of it. But what I just did, I kept it simple since my original drawing was super colorful. I just drew clouds, a sun, and then I colored the background blue just to show you that hot air balloons are in the sky. So that's all you're doing for this lesson. I can't wait to see your hot air balloons. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have fun finishing yours.